The opinions and views expressed on this program do not reflect those of the management or staff of Community Media of Staten Island. The Get Together is brought to you in cooperation with the Older Adult Center Networks and the Center for Lifelong Development, with funding provided by the New York City Department of Aging, and produced through the facilities of Community Media of Staten Island. Hello again. Welcome to the Good, the Bad, the Indifferent. And here we are with more information, we hope. It could be information, it could be fun stuff, whatever it might be. And this is a program to let everyone know who might be watching that you could do the same thing. These are podcasts, and podcasts are being done all over the country, and they're fun. And they're informative, and they're being done right here on Staten Island. So
they are?
Well, I mean,
where?
This is where you can do them at.
Oh, Community Media.
Community Media
of
Staten Island, and that's where we're doing this show from. And if you're interested, all you have to do is call 718-727-1414. That number again, 718-727-1414.
And if you have a friend or two would like to sit down and discuss anything particular, they will accommodate you. They will work it out with you, and you can come and do it. And it's shown.
It's a lot of
fun.
fun.
Believe it or not, on cable TV.
Cable TV and can be seen all over the country.
On demand.
And
streaming.
So it's a really wonderful time to do television, especially if you're interested in, always have been interested in something like
or
this.
Or a podcast.
Podcast, television, whatever it might be. So, okay, now we have some stuff that you brought, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes. So there was an article that I came across in the local paper, but it was probably written about all over the country. And it's a new app that was just developed, and it's called Death Clock AI. And it sounds ominous, and maybe it is, but basically it's an app. You answer a series of 30-some-odd questions, and they will tell you how many years you have left on planet Earth.
Oy
And I just found it fascinating that somebody actually came up with this, and people are actually dialing in, giving their information, and they're told that you have 10 years left to live, 20 years left to live. And
how close does it get into the minutes? Like you have like 10 minutes to go or 20 minutes to go?
Let's hope it's not to the minute. But they ask you, a series of questions relating to lifestyle, whether you exercise, obviously how old you are, what kind of job you have, or if you're retired. I mean, now, let's face it, if you're retired, you're probably in your 60s, and that window of opportunity has shrunk.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in your, let's say, 40s...
Not all that has shrunk, but that's one of your window of opportunity.
But if you're in your 40s, let's say, and you're trying to figure out how much money you should put away into your IRA or 401k, you would like to know, I guess,
I might want
how many more years you have left in front of you.
I might want to talk to like a real person. I wouldn't want to depend on the death clock to tell me how much to take out of my retirement or how to start a retirement fund. I have a problem with some of this pseudoscience, as they say, or they call it. It just gets.
Me too.
When did we stop trusting like real people? When did we stop trusting, researchers, people who spend their lives and get advanced degrees, financial planners?
Well, but the thing is, you go to a financial planner, let's say, right, and you buy more life insurance. Well, the life insurance companies have life expectancy tables. They can tell you based on your age,
yes,
how many more years you
and
potentially have left. So isn't this something similar? I
Well,
mean, but look,
the people
I'm
who
not
do
thrilled
that-
with the name of the app. You know, Death Clock AI is not
no,
something that.
it's
Sounds like a movie. Death Clock, EI, coming to your theaters.
no, it's
Children
to,
under
it's,
3
it's to
permitted
grab,
free.
It's an attention grabber, of course, and that's all they're using it for. But the people who work for insurance companies call actuaries, and they figure out the
That's right.
tables, and they're the highest paid people in the insurance business
Right.
because that's where they make their money, figuring out.
So if it turns out that there's an actuary behind Death Clock AI, that's going to make you feel better.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I would, as long as they give me more than 20 minutes, I'm fine with that. Every morning I wake up and they say it's, how do you feel when you wake up in the morning? If it doesn't hurt, I'm worried, these days because I want to feel something, So if I don't feel anything, then I might as well just.
Don't worry. If you're over 60 and you get up in the morning, something's going to hurt.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad thing for us because otherwise we
We know we're alive.
That's basically it.
I agree.
I
agree.
But this pseudo science thing is a little hard for me to swallow.
But along the
It's
same
fun.
line, though, we
It's
have
fun.
the ability, we have the technology today to determine whether or not we are, what's the word? When you go for a test that'll tell you that
You're prone for certain
you're right,
things.
that you're prone for certain diseases, right? We do have that
Well,
ability, for
screening,
instance.
right? We could be screened. for
Right, we can
things.
be screened to determine whether or not we're prone to come
Yeah,
down.
especially couples who want to have children, want to raise a
Couples who
family.
want to have children. There are certain types of cancers we can get screened for today.
Genetic
There
predispositions.
There are genetic diseases we can get screened for. So this is really, even though is as light as
But who do you go for those things? You go to like real doctors. You go to people who've spent 10, 15, 20 years in school before they even become doctors. You go to experts. You don't go to Death Clock AI.
actually, this is a good birthday present, a Death Clock AI, right? I mean, instead of putting a dollar bill in a birthday card, you give them a subscription to Death Clock AI.
I think it's good for in-laws. Who you might, if or maybe not your favorite cousin or something like that, but the people you have to see.
You're giving people ideas now, which I don't know is good, but whatever. I mean, in-laws is not a bad idea. Mine, unfortunately, are not around anymore, and maybe that's a good thing.
Well, most of us do, yes. At our age, we don't have a lot of close relatives anymore. Really.
So that's a topic that is very interesting.
That was my useless piece of
No, it was
information.
interesting.
Well,
what do you-
it dovetails
It's-
with the pseudoscience of the businesses that used to and still do offer your history, like the 23andMe's and the people. If you send them $99, they'll tell you what percentage of Swahili you are, or what percentage of North Yemen you came from.
Well, I'm 2%
or,
Viking.
Or what.
You look at with the beard.
You're Viking, yes. Well, you've been Viking too long. Maybe Vicodin, but I don't know about the Viking or something. Painkillers. But it's entertainment mostly. It's pseudoscience, and you're not doing real research. You spit in the
Well,
cup.
I think those things though are not. It's not so much scientific research as it is it's a matching app. They get enough information from as large a population as possible, and they match you up with people that have similarities of sorts. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For instance, I subscribed to Ancestry.com a number of years ago, and I got a crazy number of matches. But I went through about a dozen. I just picked a dozen at random, and it turned out that one of the people that I found is like a third or a fourth cousin through that went back 2 or 3 generations.
Right.
And I met them, and it turned out that we actually were related. So
No,
in
that's
some
an
instances,
ancestry thing is a family tree.
Correct. It's a family tree. And again, it's based on information that you supply and the greater population that they have in their database,
Right.
the greater the opportunity is that you may find a match. They don't guarantee anything. But, they don't go and tell you that, based on spitting in a cup, if you're prone to any diseases or, I don't know how many generations they can go back based on giving them $99. I'm sure that you could probably spend a lot more money and get a lot finer detail in terms of your
Well,
background.
That's what I've read, that to get to the genome and to get to your actual DNA, it's tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands to run it through a comprehensive test. So, for the
I wouldn't be surprised.
For the $99, you get what you pay for, as they say. And it might be fun. It might be interesting.
It's a matching, it's a matching app. Not like dating.com, or some of these other,
The things,
matching services.
the program, as I said, the woman, I can't think of a name, talked about it off the air, with the blonde hair who goes around the country, sits in an audience and tells people to come on up. And she has the ability to talk to the dead, or not talk, but get feelings from those who have been deceased. And she says, "Well, he wanted me to tell you." I mean, I don't want to put down people who buy into that, but
Those are
right now,
psychic, paranormal,
right.
paranormal type people, and maybe they have certain sensitivities. And I'm sure there probably are people out there who are
Right.
more in tune,
Yeah.
as they say, to the spirit world or something than we are in our everyday thing.
Well, there are people out there that are searching. They're looking for something.
Well,
We don't exactly know what it is they're looking for, but that's one avenue that they can take to find whatever it is that they're
there are
looking for.
people looking for, like you said, yes, they want to connect. It's all about alienation. It's all about loneliness. It's all about the human condition and the question of what we're here for, why we're here, or what we're doing here, or where did I come from, where am I going? It's the human condition, and unfortunately, there are people who will sort of exploit that.
and showmanship. They use showmanship to make it even more dramatic.
No, of course, that's all part of it, but it's you're preying on people's, emotions and the
That's right.
human condition, and it's some of it can be used for entertainment, some of it's sad, some of it's funny, and whatever it is, but that's a hard thing to do.
By the way, talking about connecting, I recently found out that there's a new dating app out there for seniors.
Yeah.
In case you're interested, it's called Carbon Dating.
I joined a dating site for people my age called Carbon Dating. I asked a woman on the site for her number. She told me it was 140 over 95.
I knew it was going somewhere
Yes,
like that.
I watched that on TikTok also and Instagram. I think his name is Huggins, his last name is. He's a senior comic, and he does a lot of that.
You got me.
Senior things. Yeah, I know. I wanted to give him credit because I've watched them also, and I've used those jokes too, and it's
Anyway, it came in handy. You're talking about making connections.
Yeah, well, no, I mean,
No, he's very good. He has an interesting story himself, that fellow.
He looks like he
He's
should use the Death Clock AI. By the way,
he's 74 years old.
He looks much older.
He was on, yes, he's 74 years old. He's getting kind of frail. And he's been in that business for about 50 years. And
You can tell because he has an old cane that he uses.
He has an old cane. I think it's part of the mutiny, the cane mutiny. He had that on there. And there was
well, with the cane, he's able to.
cane. Yes, he had his
Thank
brother.
you and good night. No,
Yes, his brother was able and he was cane, and that was it. But no, his actual story is very interesting. The fellow, oh boy, I'm trying to figure his name. The comic who made famous by blowing up the glove and putting it over his head with the thing, and he's
Howie
Howie Mandel.
Yeah.
He was that Andrew Huggins fellow was on one of the shows, and Howie Mandel talked about him and said he remembers him. When Howie Mandel first started the business, this guy was a young comic also, when they were both young comics. And he says he remembers him on the comic circuit, going around doing his act. And the man, unfortunately, he became an alcoholic, Mr. Huggins, and he spent a lot of years not working in it. And he's conquered some of that. He's in recovery, and now he's back doing
I was going to
comedy.
say, so now he's sober and he's trying to make a
And
comeback.
he's going out, and he's going around now as a 75-year-old doing the stand-up routine.
Do you know Howie Mandel, when he started, was very, very funny. I think he was very
Oh,
creative.
No, he was.
I
He was-
enjoyed him doing his shtick. And now he's very successful doing game shows or whatever that might be. But he was very, very clever. And I wish...
He was a cutting young comic,
Yeah.
and he got a start at Johnny Carson, whoever gave them. He started so many of these comics, 40, 50 years ago, and he gave them their shots, and some of them took off, some of them didn't.
And also the one who, he passed away maybe 2 years ago.
Richard Lewis.
Well, Richard Lewis, yes, that's one that I wasn't thinking about him, but that's
he
okay.
passed away more recently.
Yeah.
Richard
Right.
Lewis, but
The one that was one of the detectives in
Belzer
Belzer.
Richard
would-
Belzer.
I
became an actor.
went to the Village with a friend of mine to see a friend of his who was a folk singer, and Belzer was the comedian. When he started, he was hilarious, in my opinion. I thought he was one of the funniest guys you'll ever want to see. And I'm looking, when I looked for him on YouTube, maybe I didn't do a thorough look. If you can get a chance to see him when he started, you're going to find him to be just hilarious. But that's how he
It's
started.
interesting you say that about Belzer because I mentioned Richard Lewis.
Yeah,
Back in the 70s, there was a comedy club in Brooklyn called Pips.
Oh,
If
yeah.
anybody remembers
Sheepshead Bay.
she
in
said
Sheepshead
that.
Bay. So, and we used to go there. And one night we go there with some friends, and Richard Lewis was on. And this is when he first was coming out. It was early 70s, I don't know, 73, 74, sometime around then. And I remember him being on stage there thinking to myself, this guy is never going to make it.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
It's a good thing I did not become an agent. But first of all, he made me very nervous. He was very manic,
Oh, yeah.
and
That was part of his
Yes, it was
shtick.
part of his shtick. But I was not a very good judge of comedic talent back then. However, I did see who was the other?
You don't connect with every comic if
No.
he doesn't strike you as being amusing to you. Doesn't mean he's not going to do a mass audience. And it's Tom Hanks started as a stand-up comic. If you go on YouTube, you can see when he was the first time he came on to young kid looked like he was in his mid-20s, and Johnny Carson had him on, and Tom Hanks did stand-up. And he was not too good.
I
And
didn't know that. Isn't that
yes,
funny?
if you go for Tom Hanks, started as a stand-up comic, and then he started getting roles in movies, like the other fellow Belzer went into dramatic and things like that. But Tom Hanks started as a comic, and he comes on with his shaggy hair, and he's telling these jokes, and I guess his agent got him the shot, and he took a shot, but he transitioned to acting, and he won. The rest is
History.
It's his history for sure. But he started as a comic, and a lot of these people, Robert Klein. Robert Klein, when he started, he got his first breaks on the Tonight Show and this and that, and they have scouts. They go around to these comic clubs, and they the networks had them, and there was always one comic on, and Carson was big in breaking a lot of these young
Absolutely.
people.
Robert Klein is another one who, when he started in the Village, I saw him in the Village. He was
And he went into acting
Very
too. and
creative.
He was in acting.
Right.
But Tom Hanks, if you have a chance, look him up on YouTube.
I will.
Stand up.
I will.
You cringe at some of those jokes. He wasn't.
You bring up the comedy club in Sheepshead Bay.
Pips, yeah.
Was talking to a friend of mine. We were talking about restaurants in Brooklyn as opposed to Staten Island, and one of the places I remember as a kid growing up, and I think you guys will too, is the big trip from Staten Island to Brooklyn was to go to Sheepshead Bay and get lobster at, can somebody help me?
Lundy's.
Lundy's, thank you.
FWIL Lundy's.
Lundy's. And to me, I can't forget it because it was so, if you went on a Sunday, first of all, I'm so old that we couldn't take the bridge. We would take the,
You swam.
we, s- we
The
would
bridge
take,
was not there.
yeah, I'm just saying.
You crossed the harbor with
Columbus,
Cornelius
whoever.
Vanderbilt, right?
Right. And we took the 69th Street ferry, which was fine going over, but coming back, if it was a Sunday, it would take 10 hours to get, the line would be all the way down to Ebbets Field or something to
Really?
get it.
Was that?
Nah, I'm exaggerating
was
a little.
long.
It was a long line. But we would go as this would be the big outing. And we would go to Lundy's to have
Well, they had it was a huge restaurant. I
huge.
mean, they must have served, I don't know, 500 people at a sitting.
And my father, who was a real big clam, guy who
Oh, they clam bar.
cherry stone clams. So we would go there, and they had, I'm pretty sure they didn't have a maitre d'. You would go in, park the car, and walk in. And if it was a Sunday and it was crowded as hell, you had to go up to a table. You had to look around to see if anybody
You
was
had
on
to
the
sit
What?
behind.
Not
yes.
sit, stand.
I mean, stand. I'm sorry. Right. You had to
stand behind a family.
Hover.
Hover, very good word. Get out
Hover.
of here. And wait for a family to finish.
Yes.
And you stand there
You
like
think
this.
that's intimidating for the people who were
Can
sitting
you
there
imagine?
eating?
I was saying, imagine sitting
I
there.
remember that.
Yeah.
I was one of those people
Yeah.
standing behind.
Hurry
someone.
up and get out of here. Yeah.
Do you remember the waiters? They
Yes.
were dressed in white
Union.
uniforms.
They were
They were
union
mostly-
waiters.
And they had bars, with stripes on the sleeve. You could tell who
Yes.
the whatever
They were-
hierarchy
Chief
was.
was.
They weren't. They were African Americans,
Yeah.
and they're mostly from the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of Caribbean folks there, and they would be dressed to the nines, and they had the big staircases there where they bring the food down the staircases from the kitchens and the platters, and you had the shore dinner, which was
Yeah.
the big
Right.
thing, the shore dinner.
If we,
Sure
if we
did.
didn't want to wait at Lundy's, you know where we would go? We'd go to Roll and Roast.
I heard about that. I was never there, and yet I worked in the Sheepshead
Great
Bay area for years.
roast beef sandwiches.
I
There's
heard.
still one.
It's still
one.
there.
Are they still good?
Yeah, it's still there.
They had one in Staten Island for a while.
Yeah, they did
where
for
the
a short
pergament-
time.
The pergament
Right.
wall was, and the girls on the roller skates would serve the food.
That I don't remember.
Yeah, the girls, the teenage girls, and you'd order the food, and they'd come to your plates. Because I moved to Staten Island in '87, and they were here. Rolling Roaster was here. Beefsteak Charlie's was here in the same
That was a
place.
short
Oh,
time.
wow.
And the pergament wall.
But Roll and Roast is still in Sheepshead Bay.
Yeah, and they actually rolled because they had the
Not anymore.
the girls in this they had the skates on, and they used to come up to your table and bring you
Well,
the food.
we used to have A&W on Highland Boulevard. The girls used to come out on roller skates
That was
back in the 50s.
Yeah, with
and
the car
60s.
hops. The car
Yeah.
hops.
But Lundy's is. So Lundy's, the building is still there. It's a New York City. It's on the historical register or
Oh,
something.
it is?
Yeah.
I know they kept it open for
You know what?
some.
So it was Lundy Brothers, FWI.
Right,
You know what
right.
the FWIL stood for?
Now what?
Fievel, Belleville, Itzik, and Leibel.
Who?
You
There
didn't
you
know that?
go. Very good. I was gonna say come back next week for some bonus points and figure out what it was.
It's a
Anybody who
Jeopardy.
could
It was a Jeopardy
send it in.
question.
Oh.
I tell you, I don't know if you remember, but across the street from Lundy's, you had Sheepshead Bay, the actual
Yes,
bay,
yes.
and there was a
Boats.
wooden bridge. There was a wooden bridge that you walked
Manhattan
over
Beach.
to get to Manhattan Beach.
Right.
And back in the day, kids would dive off the bridge
My
for
goodness.
money, for coins.
Yeah,
And we
okay.
used to stand there, and I was a kid, but if I had a penny or a nickel, throw it in the water, and the kids would dive in for the coins.
Never knew that.
They used to do that. I heard a story I was told by an old relative. My grandfather in the 20s and 30s, they had the piers in Manhattan on the west side and the east side. And they used to, my grandfather and a bunch of boys, they used to, because the people on the Upper West Side or the Upper East Side, they used to go down by the waterfront in the Hudson, and they had the piers that went out there. And there was a whole bunch of kids that used to dive also for the people into the water for coins. And it was a sort of like, the rich people from the Upper East Side, they would come, they would stroll down. This is in the 20s, actually in the 20s,
Yeah.
even in the 10s. And these kids from Brooklyn, they'd all go to the pier divers, and they
Never
were in
knew
good
that.
shape, and the kids, and they would dive in for coins as the hoi polloi would be out for their stroll with their umbrellas and so that, throwing coins into the water.
A number of seafood places.
Randazzo's.
There's some big, Hamilton House.
I
was in
heard of that.
Sheepshead Bay.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And there was another big one right near the Parkway, whose name is, I just can't remember the name, but there was another big seafood place there. And then there were some other ones. You had Randazzo's, and you had the Barge. You had
The Barge, right. I remember.
It's a shame that whole area is.
The boats used to come right up and sell their fish
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
on the docks when the
Yeah, they'd
Ranger
come in
and
twice a day. Yeah, they
Yeah,
had
the morning-
the boats come
in the
in.
morning, people would go out at 5 or 6 in the morning, and they would come back at noon, and there'd be another sailing. They'd bring another bunch of fishermen on there. They had all those parking meters there that you parked on the diagonal, and they would all line up.
That's
and
right.
Early in the morning.
I have it's not a nice story, but I used to go fishing out of there in Sheepshead Bay on the party boats, and I had a cousin come down and visit once, and he wanted to go. He'd never been on, one of those boats. Now, the party boats, some of them, they take 30, 40 people on there. You can go for a half day, you can go for a full day. So we would go for a half day. Anyway, this one time my cousin comes down. He gets on the boat, and we must have been out for 2 minutes on the water.
You get
Seasickness.
seasick.
And he got so sick.
I-
It was horrible. I felt so bad for him.
You
He
can't
was-
go back
He
either.
was writhing.
Writhing.
on
yes.
the deck.
They give you a bucket
On
and
the
you
deck.
just
And I
Oh,
remember
God.
going up to the captain
you turn green.
in the cockpit up there in the pilot house, and I said, "Look, you got to help me out over here. My cousin's down here. We're like 100 feet away from the dock. Can we just go back?" He refused to turn around.
Same thing in Massachusetts. We
My
went on
cousin-
a whale watching.
My cousin was out on the boat for 4 hours. It was the worst trip.
I can imagine.
He started out on the deck. Then he went to the bathroom. I remember going into the bathroom, the head once, and he's got his arms wrapped around the toilet bowl.
Well,
But the crazy thing is that, so 4 hours later, we come back.
He's fine.
I mean, as soon as he put 2 feet on land,
Isn't that something? Yeah. Again,
He would-
that's something with the middle
but I'll tell you,
ear.
that 4-hour trip, I'll never forget, because
I couldn't. I would jump over.
I did not fish for 4 hours.
I
was
couldn't
so
fish.
it's a
upset.
shame. It's a shame. And it's
Quick,
kind of weird.
quick thing. Did you hear about this
I couldn't
Disney
believe it.
cruise
Like
yesterday?
Disney. Tell
They-
them.
they
And
don't
then we
know.
got to get moving.
Yeah. So this 4-year-old or 5-year-old
Oh,
a
jumped,
girl
and the man, the father
jumped off a Disney cruise.
She fell
and-
into the
Well,
water.
they don't know how it happened.
And the
They-
father,
and the
Oh.
father jumped in after, and some crew member saw all this unfolding. Called
Called the
up to the
Coast Guard.
bridge or whatever, and they sent out one of the boats, and they fished them out of the water.
both of them.
Both of them.
Thank
That's an
goodness.
amazing
Thank
story.
goodness.
You're going to get more of it today because
No,
well,
if you're in the middle of the ocean, so when you jump off one of those cruise ships and nobody
Now,
knows you're gone, their boat just
Do you
keeps
think
going. and
that
you never
Disney
get-
should offer these people like a lifetime pass
Yeah,
for a
I
Disney
think
cruise?
I think they should give them the Burger King Foundation. Should come up to them
on that note,
and offer them a scholarship to this.
I
to the
think this child
maritime-
should get free tuition for whatever school she wants to go to, paid
What-
by
She
Disney.
She should get a lifetime pass to Umi. She can go eat seafood forever.
we thank you for watching, listening, and I had a great time. I know both of you, I hope, had a good time. Once again, let me mention, we are a podcast produced by seniors for seniors at this particular type of
Community, media
TV.
of,
I have to get used to that.
Community Media of
TV
Staten Island.
of Staten Island, right. It's amazing what I
In North America, in the state of New York,
Right,
on the planet Earth.
718-727-1414. 718-727-1414. If you're interested in doing a podcast, if you're interested in joining some of the classes and learning about TV, that's what we're all about. So until next time, I'm Dave Frankel.
Reuben Warren,
And Mike Axelrod.
Thank you.
over and out.
Over and out. And
way out.
Can we use that, or we can get sued for using over and out? Who used over and out? Captain Video?
They're over and they're out. I wouldn't worry about it.
Thank you. Good night.